Well, it's a long time to go back, but cricket in New Zealand was the summer sport and rugby was the winter sport. And at that stage, there's quite a strong definition, and most of the coaching programs in your school would introduce you to either cricket or rugby. And I was very typical. I sort of enjoyed rugby during the winter and naturally progressed through to cricket in the summer and really enjoyed it. Limited success in the family, nothing of note, so there wasn't any real drive to represent anything within the family name. It was purely just enjoyment, and within a big family, a wider family, a lot of opportunities to sort of play the backyard and learn to love the game. Certainly the last few years, there was a real distinct season, so you were able to play both and stay fit and enjoy two sports. Cricket started to overlap and move into the winter a little bit more, but yeah, I enjoyed rugby. It's such an institution, and it's a national sport in New Zealand, so it's very easy to fall in love with it, and I really enjoyed those days. There was an opportunity to go on trials for a representative team for rugby, which was nice, but I think I knew then I wasn't good enough, one, and two, I didn't really have the desire to push forward. Cricket was my passion, and I was also having a bit more success with cricket as well, so that gives you a bit more enjoyment and a bit more ego-wise. That was the sport that I felt like I had a chance of making something. And studies do show the more sports you play, the more you're introduced to different biorhythms and just developing your athletic side a lot better, rather than just being a cricketer and just learning those movements. You become a bit more all-round, and the studies do show that makes you a better athlete. So yeah, New Zealand does encourage you to try a lot of sports, and I certainly think that helps our achievement around the world. For 5 million people, we do pretty well. I enjoyed sort of that management of people, and teaching was about transferring information, and I did enjoy that. And it was in between whether cricket was going to become a job for me, or whether I had to concentrate on something else. I wasn't willing to go all in on cricket at that stage, so it was a PE course, which was my love for sport and athletics, with a little bit of obviously theory and knowledge around the biomechanical movement. So I really enjoyed it, and then transferring that into how to teach in front of a class and people and write lessons. And when I look at that, and I look at the way my career progressed, captain at a young age, there's no doubt I used a number of those teaching skills I learnt at college to be able to captain a side and talk to players and sort of create plans. There's quite a lot of synergy between the two. If you're in front of a class and transferring information, that you soon become a bit more comfortable with that. So that certainly helped. A lot of the other things came with experience, but yeah, there were some basics there that no doubt helped. And then it's just confidence in front of people, and once you get an understanding or a framework of how you want to talk and how you're going to operate, filling the gaps becomes a bit easier. Captaincy had sort of come and go with certain teams. It had been a little bit hit and miss as to my captaincy to date, but there was obviously a vision from Steve Rickson and Sir John Graham, who was the manager and coach respectively at the time. Well, it was a bit of a shock, and a lack of expectation really as to what I was accepting or what I'd been offered. And you're not going to turn it down. I wasn't ready, nowhere near ready, but the group wasn't really ready either. It was a young group of players sort of trying to find their way, and as such, it sort of became a natural sort of progression to grow with them. And I think that's what they were looking at, was to start afresh and then create something with a bit of longevity. And that was great for me, because being so raw with captaincy, the mistakes that you make early on learning the track takes time. You couldn't do it in 2 years, struggled to do it in 4. So to be able to have such a long, extended go at it, it gave me an opportunity to be the best I could be, where I know a lot of other leaders just haven't had that opportunity. So very grateful for that. But I look back now and shake my head at the first couple of years, because a lot of times way out of my depth. Well, I think the maturity level, you in your 30s, you're much more comfortable starting to develop who you are and what you stand for. In your early 20s, you're still developing that, and then to have a captaincy of your national cricket side thrust upon you, you're caught between the two. You're trying to balance the responsibility, but you're also trying to find your way, and finding your way is making mistakes. But if you're the captain of a national team, then some mistakes can be very tough to hide. So it was a quick growing up period for me. and I guess I enjoyed parts of it, but I didn't enjoy others. But I certainly respected the position and again enjoyed the opportunity of having it for so long. Well, you keep the boss happy. That's what you do. You always say yes. I don't know. It was about relationships. The relationships I had during my captaincy, I had a number of really good mates who grew up with me, where you can be really robust with your discussions and you carry a lot of respect. So that was that journey. And this one, very much the same. When the IPL began, no one was really sure. And after that first year, my second year onwards, developing relationships with MS and other senior players are lifelong. We've had a really good policy of trying to keep as many players at Chennai as possible, and that helps the relationships grow or just get a bit deeper rather than being superficial. And from the owners down, I think you would say that the franchise has been very stable, and with that the relationships have been rock solid, and now they have a lot of experience behind them, so the shared experiences in your relationships really help. Well, a lot of things happen actually, because I stood down the year earlier after talking to selectors at New Zealand Cricket about giving up the one-day captaincy. Now, there was a breakdown in communication on their side about how that was going to look, and at that time I was also playing in England, which I really enjoyed, captaining in Nottinghamshire, so I was enjoying my cricket. My thought and proposal was to split captaincies. I felt right back then in 2008 that to do the job well, you could only do pretty much one form of the game, and so proposed with Daniel Fedori to take over as one-day captain. And I had a vision of captaining for a year or so the Test side, which would finish with a Test match at Lords. But New Zealand cricket felt differently. So right at that time, I lost the Test captaincy as well. And I knew, because I've been doing it for so long, it was going to take a big chunk out of how I played the game. And just going back and being a batter was probably not going to cut it. I'd given up that sort of dream and goals a lot earlier. And at that time, the IPL discussion or infancy, the talk of it happening came along, and right that year was making a choice as to ICL as well was there in the mix. There's a whole lot of things sitting up. When am I going to retire? Am I going to carry on as a batter? Do I join this league and play T20? And making a lot of decisions all at once. Things happen for a reason. So I chose to play a little bit more Test cricket, finish nicely, and then move into the IPL, which I thought was going to become something pretty big. And that's sort of the decision making. So not by design, a lot by chance, but I'm a big believer that things happen for a reason. You just got to be ready to take them. The plan was obviously to play the 3-year playing deal, and I was very grateful to be picked up by Chennai. My first year I didn't play that well. I was behind Hayden and Hussey, who were greats, and coming in late in the tournament, and it was sort of nowhere near as impactful as what those players were. So I think something was telling me that I was done, and I was a little bit worried about that. And then again, by chance, the opportunity came up to be player coach. And what I had missed in the first stages, I've been so used to being a decision maker, and maybe the main decision maker for New Zealand. To just be a player for Chennai was difficult just to do. So then the opportunity to get back into that the boardroom and make some decisions and work with MS was just perfect. And again, by chance, it happened, and it just set us on that way, and very grateful for that. Inclusive. I'm very much a captain first, so working beneath, trying to give the captain all the tools and information, advice that he needs, and then work downwards with the other coaches, with players, and really inclusive. I don't have answers, so really working with them, and the other part of it is still growing, like still searching the knowledge as to how this next generation of players want to play, and it's ever changing. So it's that thirst for knowledge and to be good and to be also a little bit different. Well, I did adopt a theory when I took over from Chennai. I wasn't going to make the players do what I hated when I played. I think cricketers and coaches waste a lot of time on doing things that are expected to be done rather than really think about them and are they relevant for the format that you're coaching? Are they relevant for this group? So I really wanted to make a point of not making players waste time and become very efficient. And also self-sufficient. There's a lot of high performance that dumbs down the players to a degree. So get them back making decisions, owning their own space and owning their own game. And then you get that and a player becomes confident with that, then they're very easy to coach. My first team talk, it was in, I think it was in Durban, and it was the group, and obviously Hayden, Hussey, Murali and the great Indian players and the young Indian players, so a real group. And I worked so hard on this my first coaching speech so hard. And I thought, this is great. And I was a little bit nervous. And with my accent, I started talking. And the more nervous you are, the faster you speak. And by the end of it, I thought, oh, nailed it. I thought, that is brilliant. And I saw us give me the thumbs up. Oh, that's great. One of the greats. And then one of the young Indian players, I said, how was that? And he said, sir, I couldn't understand a single word you said. And I was just like, oh, no. 2/3 of the room, these young Indian guys hadn't heard a word or understood. So that was my first lesson, was slow down and make sure when you're communicating to your group, they understand. I really enjoy the man management aspect. I enjoy the campaign. So each year is like a campaign or each competition. It's short and you can really do some quite funky things. You can introduce the players to some different ways of doing things. You can keep learning because you've got players from around the world who might do things a different way that you like. So I just enjoy the small little melting pot of it. I enjoy the shorter time frame of the tournaments and the finite end, so it doesn't go year and year and year. It's just that 8 or 9 or 4 weeks to 2 months, 2.5 months, where you're totally just focused on that. And the energy for it is, you need is high. So being able to have that, again, that balance to recharge and go again and get some more ideas and try them. It's when they work, it's exhilarating. It's great. When they don't, it's a good challenge. It makes me want to come back. That's what excites me, is that how can we be different? Like, how can Chennai be different, or how can Johannesburg be different? What can we do that allows the players to leave this competition better? And that's a real motivating factor. What I've learned over 14 years, I've seen a lot. So the young guys coming through and applying their trade, you can impart some pretty good knowledge based on world-class athletes showing you during the years how best to do it. And that's really fulfilling, to be able to give them something to go away and try with. It might be county, might be international sides. But the other thing is to set up an environment that is a little bit different. And I really take a lot of pride in making sure that it's an environment where people belong. Like, belonging is really important. And you got people from England, New Zealand, India, South Africa coming together. You've got to find a common theme, and finding that theme can be difficult, but once you get it, it's a really strong thread that runs through. So sometimes you go into a room, it just feels right, and more times than not, we want to create that. So that really drives me, that you have people that feel they just belong with any team that we're involved with. I've been asked this a couple of times, and I don't know if I'd change a lot, because things just happen for a reason. And sometimes sliding doors, if you take a different path, you might hit a dead end. So I'm incredibly grateful for what cricket has given me and the opportunities. So I can't look back with any regret or any doubt. It's been what's in front of me, I've tried to make the best of. From a personal batting point of view, I would have loved to have been fractionally better and have my stats a bit better. But then I balanced that up, and I think captaincy at 23 took the edge off that a little bit. Not an excuse, but to then balance team and myself was a challenge that was probably a little bit too hard to be good at, completely good at both. I like my own time. I do like my own space to sort of gather thoughts and gather energy as well. But I also like socialising and mixing, but it feels a little bit on my terms. My personality is such, I do like my time to reflect and do like my time to plan and prepare, but in between that, the social side is still very strong. So sort of somewhere in the middle. I'm not your out partying every night type of guy, that's for sure, but I think the balance is pretty good. I enjoy both, but yeah, I describe it as a high-functioning introvert. Well, just life in general, really. I love golf. Golf is a competitive aspect that I guess is in the system. I love competing in golf. I love wine. I love fine foods, enjoying a good meal with family, trying new things. Travel is an interesting one. So traveling with the family is interesting, but after years and years of travel, it's a different experience. So trying to balance that out between introducing the family to the world and also being excited about that, which we're getting a good balance within that. And again, the balance of life and cricket. So sometimes it gets out of whack. You're seeing guys now that are almost every day of the year. So to be able to have a balanced life back home and then be able to dip into coaching world-class players in some of the best competitions, I think life balance is pretty good.